Today on Studio One, Ross Perot sits down with us one-on-one to talk about starting a third party and targeting young adults to help accomplish this goal. Donna Ferrato shows us with her camera about the prevailing problem of domestic abuse in America. And we'll look at another hot animated movie from Disney called Toy Story.
Now from the University of North Dakota with Scott Seiler and Stephanie Mars, this is Studio One.
Hi everyone and welcome to Studio One today. Nice to have you along with us.
Big week in Grand Forks. Ross Perot visited.
Very big week. We have a couple stories about that. We had a nice sit-down interview with him and we'll tell you all about that coming up later in our show. But today on Studio One, Scott Deizman shares with us why families are adopting retired Greyhounds, and we'll also meet some of his special friends, Tickles Randini and Monique.
Tess Weekesmurphy and Millie Finger will load up their hot glue gun and show us how to make a festive wreath for the holidays.
But first, today's national news from CNN and news from around the region with Lucy Sivka. Lucy?
Thanks, Scott. After years of war and months of talking, the international community is getting set to enforce a fragile peace in Bosnia. NATO ambassadors could give the go-ahead for the first peacekeeping troops to deploy. The 2,600-number enabling force will lay the groundwork for the full NATO peacekeeping force to be deployed after the formal peace treaty is signed. A 10-member U.S. reconnaissance team is already in Bosnia, scouting roads and terrain around the town of Tuzla, which will be the headquarters for the U.S. troops in the peacekeeping mission. Los Angeles authorities have turned up another contradiction in a photographer's account of the death of the model Linda Sovak. Photographer Charles Raffman says he accidentally hit Sovak while demonstrating stunt maneuvers in a car during a photo shoot. But the publisher who hired Raffman says he wanted pictures of a new truck in a rural setting, not with a model doing high-speed stunts. Police are investigating whether Raffman might be linked to other killings. Diet pills may do more harm than good. One dietitian says prescription and over-the-counter diet pills are addictive and have serious side effects. Some of these side effects include high blood pressure, increased heart rate, prostate problems, and damage to the nervous system. The dietitian also says diet pills should never be taken by heart patients or diabetics. Diet pills often claim you can lose weight within just a few days. A Grand Forks dietitian calls this an easy fix for short-term weight loss.
So it's a good corner, kind of a warning signal. If they make that kind of a claim, they're targeting water loss. It's a diuretic. It's not trying to get rid of the fat. That's what people are really interested in doing. I'd certainly avoid those products.
One Grand Forks pharmacist avoids stocking over-the-counter diet pills because of their ineffectiveness. Diet pills should never be taken for more than 2 months. Swimming can discolor your teeth. An American Dental Association study says people who swim laps more than 6 hours a week develop yellowish-brown stains on their teeth. The study focuses on competitive swimmers between the ages of 5 and 17. The leading researcher says the stains form when saliva mixes with the pool's chemicals. The researcher also says the stains will develop regardless of how often you brush your teeth. 60% of the youth swimmers surveyed report having the brown stains on their teeth. A new swimmer's toothpaste could be the answer to preventing these stains. What started out as a Norwegian food is now a favorite to many. Lefse is a growing Scandinavian tradition in the Midwestern United States.
In the old days, women worked hard to prepare enough lefse for the holidays. Today, it's done a little bit differently.
We're in the Red River Valley, and it's 70% Norwegian, and it is demand, and it's just something that's been made for years, and we just continue that tradition.
Kukluk owns a local restaurant called the Tomahawk. As its holiday special, the restaurant serves lefse and lutefisk.
The fact that I am half Norwegian makes me like it naturally, I think.
Besides Norwegians, lefse has become a tradition in other households.
My dad used to buy it right before Christmas. We live right by a bunch of Norwegian families and back on the farm, and he'd bring some home right before Christmas and just learn to like it, I guess.
Bosch is Bohemian. Today, it's become so popular, it has turned into a booming business.
We distribute to about 1,000 grocery stores in the tri-state area. Mainly, our biggest market is right in North Dakota and the Scandinavian populated areas and Minnesota.
Lefse is made mainly of potato and flour. First, a lump of dough is thrown on a conveyor. Next, it is flattened, and rolling pins are used to make it look like it's homemade. Then it is baked in an oven where it is flipped over. It cools as it slides onto the conveyor. Finally, the flour is brushed off and the lefse is packaged and sent to buyers.
I don't think in the old days they had it very often in a restaurant. You know, it's just the last recent years that they've had it.
Even with modern technology and business ventures, many will agree lefse is a tradition no money can buy. I'm Manipan Lamkampui, reporting for Studio One News.
Lefse is often eaten with butter and sugar, and lefse season lasts about 4 to 6 months. That's the news for this half hour. Scott and Stephanie.
Thanks, Lucy.
We make lefse at home and have it on all the major holidays.
That sounds like a special treat.
It is. Let's go now to Patrick Griesgraber at the Regional Weather Information Center. Patrick, how's our forecast looking?
Well, it's actually looking a little bit cooler in the short term today. We saw a high yesterday of 40 degrees. We're going to see about 14 degrees cooler than that today. We're going to be sitting into the mid-20s for high temperature for today. Here's a current look at the current temperatures, actually the conditions across the Grand Forks this morning. Clear skies, temperature is 2 degrees. Our dew point is -4. Relative humidity 75%. The winds are from the west at 12 miles per hour. Pressure has been rising all morning at 29.96, and our wind chill is at -22. Here's a look at the temperatures across the region, and again, some very cool temperatures across much of the north. Minot at 6, Bismarck 16. Still very warm down in Rapid City, 44 degrees as a secondary cold front pushes down. See the cooler temperatures to the north and the warmer temperatures to the south. Now zooming out and taking a look at the national weather at this time. This is that secondary front that's making its way through central South Dakota and Minnesota. And again, a cool area of high pressure is also making its way in from the north. Cloudy skies across the west and some rather significant snowfall occurring across the New England states this morning. Upwards of 2 to 4 inches of accumulation is possible, where winter weather advisories are in effect for Pennsylvania and into New York. Now, taking a look at Friday's forecast, moving ahead about 12 hours, we're expecting that cold front to break, and we're expecting a warm front to start pushing up from the south, looking at the skies to basically start to clear off across the southern portions of the region and some flurries across southern Manitoba. As we move into Saturday, we're looking at generally precipitation starting to develop along the cold front as the system starts to slide slowly towards the east. Cloudy skies will continue into Saturday, but overall temperatures should start to warm up as we get into the warm sector of the low. Here's a look at Friday's highs. We're looking at 20s for eastern North Dakota and much of northern Minnesota, 50s across the southwestern portions of the region. Temperatures for tonight, looking for 20s again across much of North Dakota as temperatures start to warm up over the nighttime hours, 30s across the southern portions of the region. Here's the specific forecast for Grand Forks for today. Look for mostly cloudy skies. Winds will be becoming southeasterly at 5 to 15, expecting a high today of 26 degrees. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies, isolated early evening flurries or freezing rain, and the winds will be from the south-southwest between 5 and 15, a low of around 24. And for the specific extended outlook for Grand Forks, Saturday through Monday, we're looking at generally cloudy skies both Saturday and Monday. Our temperatures will be oscillating between the mid-30s to the lower 30s over the weekend. Looks like Sunday's going to be our coolest day, but overall we'll see the most sun on Sunday. So overall, not a bad weekend, Scott and Stephanie.
Thanks, Patrick. Well, it looks like the temperatures are warming up a little bit.
That's nice to hear, for a change anyway, definitely. Let's go now to sports and Josh Morton and a big trade in the NBA.
That's right, Scott. Today's sportscast dedicated to those people who are tired of all the moving around of teams from city to city. We've got some good news for you this morning. The players, they can do it too. A blockbuster deal last night in the NBA. The Nets and 76ers made a 6-player deal. The Nets say, I'll trade you my Derek Coleman and 2 players if you give me your Sean Bradley and 2 Sixers. The 7'6" Bradley, averaging 9 points and 9 boards this year. Action on the court, and this is why the Magic are leading the league and beating the Mavs. Penny on the break with the finish. And then it's 3D, Dennis Scott living up to his name, 3 of his 29. Magic can Dallas their 7th straight loss. Chris Webber made his return last night in Washington, scoring 22 points. His return, not enough though. Terrell Brandon with 2 of his 29 to lead the Cavs over the Bullets 97-85. To the ice, and Mario Lemieux, he's a pretty good hockey player. He scored not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 goals in the Penguins' 9-6 win over the Bruins. Well, not many players for the Giants or Cardinals have scored 4 times all year, but Dave Brown's going to hit Mike Sherrard for the only touchdown last night. This one a 12-yarder. Giants beat the Cards 10-6. And that's a look at the national highlights. Now here's a look at the overnight scores. Well, as the temperature dips closer and closer into negative numbers, I hope you start to feel the need for some hoops. And this weekend at UND, there'll be plenty of basketball. The Sioux women host the second annual Columbia Mall Classic Friday and Saturday at the Hislop. Bemidji State, Lewis University, and American University of Puerto Rico journey to Grand Forks for the tournament. But all eyes will be on the 3-1 Sioux when they take on American in the first round. Coming into the season, North Dakota was ranked as high as 3rd in the preseason polls. The team demolished Michigan Tech last week and then took care of Morehead State for leftovers over the holiday weekend. Senior Christy Waldall led the way with a double-double, grabbing a career-high 10 boards to go along with her 14 points. And that's it for this half of sports. Scott and Stephanie coming up in our next half. We'll have the story of a man who can't get enough of hockey.
Thanks, Josh. Still ahead today on Studio One, Donna Ferrato takes us into the world of domestic violence with her camera.
But first we'll talk with Scott Deizman. He's helping to save greyhounds through a special organization called Greyhound Pets of America. 12 minutes now past the hour. Studio One continues after this.
We want to hear what you have to say about Studio One. Contact us on the internet. Our email address is udstudio@badlands.nodac.edu. Let us know what you think about our show. Or better yet, give us your story and guest idea of who you'd like to see on Studio One.
Insurance. Unfortunately, it costs. Fortunately, it pays. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Bismarck.
You know, ever since I got Community National's imaging, I've had a great idea for a game show.
From your bank statements, who can find check number 1144?
Here it is. Jack's Hardware Store, September 15th, 1995 for $39.
Who is the only bank to offer this incredible imaging service?
My bank?
Wrong. Bill?
Community National Bank, of course.
Meet me at Columbia. Meet me at Columbia Mall.
There's always something happening where laughter overflows. People meeting people, an exciting place to go. Something's there for everyone, and you can see it all. You're free to choose a million things, so meet me at the mall.
Meet me at Columbia Mall.
Great food can come from anyone, as long as the shredded natural cheese comes from Sargento of Wisconsin.
Handpick your insurance company? As your agent and broker, that's our exact job. We think we do it well, and have been since 1947. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Bismarck.
You're watching Studio One. News, weather, sports, and entertainment.
They're creatures of speed and sight. In early medieval times, their birth was celebrated more than the birth of a daughter. Many of us know greyhounds to be great racing dogs, but we don't know what happens to them after their racing days are finished. Usually, these animals are put to death after 2 years of racing. Today, Scott Deizman will tell us what he and others are doing to save them. Scott, thanks for joining us today. We have two of your friends, Tickles Randini and Monique, joining us, so they're great dogs to have along with us. First, why don't you tell us how you got interested in greyhounds in the first place?
Well, I started working at the Daytona Beach Kennel Club, which is the track in Daytona Beach, Florida. And that's when I came across Tickles Randini. My first day of working was also her first day at the track. And this was a very loving dog before the race. A lot of times they get real hyper, you know, they're ready for the race.
Mm-hmm.
But she was very calm and relaxed, and my first thought was, well, here's a dog that's not going to be very good. And she went out and won the race, and afterwards just came back and was the same happy self as right before the race. And so I just started to be her lead every time that she came onto the track.
Mm-hmm. What made her a great racing dog?
She was very fast. She wasn't as aggressive as a lot of the others, and she liked to run on the outside of the track. So she was actually running further than the rest of the dogs. But she was a very fast dog, and she had a good kick at the end.
Mm-hmm. She's a great racing dog, and we have a clip of her, one of the highlights. She was number 5, and let's roll the videotape, and you can just show the progress that she makes throughout the race.
And they're off on the break. 2 pops the box. Here comes the 4 on the inside. 5 in the middle of the track. 2, 4, 5, 6. Then back to the 3, 7, 8, and the 1 on the inside at the back of the pack. In the backstretch, it's 2 the leader. 4 moving up from 3 lanes back. Then the 6 coming around the turn. 2 still the leader. 5 is wide and driving. 2, 5, 6. Here's a finish.
Strong finish by Tickles Randini. Now, is this common that did she do this in all the races?
Well, not necessarily all the races. She was pretty picky. Her race record pretty much shows either first or second or last.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice in that race, she liked to be in 3rd or 4th place going into the final turn, and if she wasn't in that position, she would quit.
Yeah.
She would just kind of run it in with the rest of the dogs.
Now the sad thing is, after their racing days are finished with, most, several years ago, most of them were put to death. Now this is where the adopting of the Greyhounds came into play. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, back in 1990, the numbers were that approximately 36,000 Greyhounds were put down that year, and 3,500 were placed into homes.
Mm-hmm.
And since that time, we've had a big push by Greyhound Pets of America and other adoption agencies. And currently the number for 1994 were that 13,000 Greyhounds were put down and 14,000 were placed into homes. So we've exceeded that 50% mark that we were very happy about.
Now, if people are interested in, you have some qualifications that people need to be aware of if they're interested in adopting a Greyhound. What is it?
Right. First of all, they have to realize that while these are very calm animals around the house, if they do catch sight of a rabbit or up here gophers, they do like to chase. So they must be aware that they have to be kept on a leash at all times. Also, it's nice if they have a fenced-in yard. That way they can turn the animal outside whenever they want. They won't have to walk around with it.
Mm-hmm.
And also they have to be willing to keep the dog inside, especially during the winter, because they don't have the fat or the fur to really make them outside dogs.
Nice. Well, they're very beautiful dogs, and we're glad you brought them along with us. And for anyone who is interested, all you need to do is contact us here at Studio One, and we'll pass that information along to you if you're interested in adopting a Greyhound. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate bringing Monique and Tickles Randini. She's checking out the studio
Randini,
for you.
come here.
18
girl.
minutes now after the hour. Just ahead on Studio One, the toys are back in town. We'll take a look at Disney's latest hit, Toy Story. But first, photojournalist Donna Ferrato captures the rage of violence by observing people in abusive situations.
Make a memory, make a friend, make a fantasy come true in the end. Make a dream to be remembered more than anything could say.
Hi, I'm Nancy Schaefer. Please support the Make-A-Wish Foundation so we can continue to make dreams come true for these special children.
I was looking for a car for 3 months, and the folks at Honda Nissan knew I did TV commercials. And so they asked me for suggestions, and all I could tell them was how great I was treated at Honda Nissan. And the next thing you know, here I am. When I went to Honda Nissan, I was treated with such respect. And I really couldn't believe the quality and selection that I found there. People always tell me that you get what you pay for. But at Honda Nissan, you really do get what you pay for.
Only you can prevent forest fire.
And it's true. We know we can count on you to do what Smoky says.
Drown your campfires with water. Make sure it's totally wet. Then stir and drown again.
We know we can count on you to do what Smoky says.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
The School of Law at the University of North Dakota is steeped in tradition. From the first graduating class, students today learn from the Modern Law Library and computer labs. Students write for the North Dakota Law Review, take part in moot court, and review court proceedings with video technology. Law and medical students compete in the annual Malpractice Bowl.
The size of our student body gives great access to their teachers, and our computer network allows us to access worldwide legal resources.
Look up the UND School of Law for more opportunities.
Donna Ferrato is committing herself to photographing the horrors of domestic violence. For the last 15 years, her camera has silently captured many pictures during the heat of the moment when a man is beating a woman. These pictures have been seen worldwide in such publications as Time, Life, and People magazine. Studio One's Kristen Sletland shows us why Donna Ferrato is someone we want you to meet.
Violent men. It's so painful. Women who've been freshly beaten.
Donna Ferrato wants people to look, listen, and stop domestic violence. Her slideshow presentation of domestic abuse helps people better understand the injustices done to women, children, and even men in the safety of their own homes. Donna says after viewing her photos, people can never again claim ignorance to one of America's most prevalent social problems.
The whole thing for me happened with seeing this one woman being beaten by her husband and then trying to buck against the system of this brick wall of white males who did not want these pictures to be published and who kept telling me that domestic violence was not a big problem in our society. All you need to know is that that's really a battered woman. This is not Hollywood. This isn't Julia Roberts. This isn't some model who has makeup on. This is a real woman who's sharing her pain, who's sacrificing herself to make sure that some other woman doesn't go through the same kind of pain. I think that is really intense. I go in and I'm part of their lives. I listen, I pay attention. I see things that psychologists never see, judges never see, doctors, police. Nobody ever sees the stuff that I see except for people who are in the family. And I don't keep my mouth shut when I'm in these situations. I'm so one with that camera. We're like the machine and the human are just like this. So whatever I'm feeling goes through that camera. The pain, the anger, the fury sometimes that I feel when because I'm like the little children. I feel like they do when I see this stuff happening. The fury, my fury comes out in the courtrooms because I've gone through many trials and I've seen women put away for 50 years who've killed their husbands in self-defense.
Donna has learned a lot in the last 15 years about the possibilities for change. She doesn't need to see any more men beating their wives and setting examples for children. Otherwise, the cycle keeps coming back to haunt them, generation after generation. Kristen Sletland, Studio One.
The demand for Donna's photos encouraged her to start a fundraiser called the Domestic Abuse Awareness Project. Proceeds go to battered women's shelters. Disney's latest hit, Toy Story, combines the familiar voices of Tom Hanks and Tim Allen with advanced computer animation. Toy Story is the first film entirely animated by computer tools and technology. Old familiar toys such as G.I. Joe figures, Slinkies, and Mr. Potato Head come alive only when people are not present. In the movie, Woody and Buzz Lightyear become rival toys competing for attention.
We're all very impressed with Andy's new toy.
Toy?
T-O-Y. Toy.
Excuse me, I think the word you're searching for is Space Ranger.
The word I'm searching for, I can't say because there's preschool toys present.
Getting kind of tense, aren't you?
Oh, Mr. Lightyear, now I'm curious. What does a Space Ranger actually do?
He's not a Space Ranger! He doesn't fight evil or shoot lasers or fly!
Excuse me?
Toy Story is now showing in theaters around the nation. Now, time to take a look at the events happening in your area.
Stress can give you a headache, make you edgy, and sometimes just make you want to scream. Bills, work, or roommates are just some of the many things that can stress you out. Here are your thoughts on how you deal with stress.
I usually go out for a run. I usually try to do it alone. Usually mellows me out and lets me get my thoughts together.
By writing poetry. As a law student, there's a lot of homework we have to do, and any kind of creative activity I can do helps. The other way is exercise, but I don't do that as much as I would like to.
Well, normally I just watch TV and kind of lounge around the house. And sometimes I come to the union and play video games or darts, or just work on something that I like.
I usually exercise, or sometimes I go in my room and write. I like to write a lot. And just going for a brisk walk usually helps me a lot.
I just like to come down here and shoot pool. Helps release some tension from class, stress, finals coming up, kind of stuff like that.
The way I deal with stress is, like, say after a hard test, go back to my room, play Sega hockey. That's the best thing anyone could do.
A new brain scanning device is offering an unprecedented instant view of the inner working of our brain. While it may look like medieval hair torture, the new tool is called the geodesic sensor net. It may rapidly replace the MRI and EEG brain scan. The inventor Don Tucker claims it will help scientists better understand how infants grasp languages and learn more about depression in adults. Here's how it works. 128 electrical sensors are dipped into a salty solution to improve conductivity, and then the spongy tips are placed on the head. The geodesic sensor net has the advantage over previous methods of scanning the brain because it gives a complete, instantaneous view of the brain. Researchers hope the device will unlock the time-worn mystery of the human mind. 26 minutes now after the hour. Coming up in our next half hour in Studio One, the owners of the Quilted Rabbit store will show us all the steps to making holiday crafts. Plus, a one-on-one interview with Ross Perot. He's visiting college campuses to rally support for his new third party called the Reform Party. All that plus news, weather, and sports still ahead today on Studio One.
UND's Division of Continuing Education can help you learn throughout your lifetime. Begin or continue your education through correspondence study and learning after hours with classes on weekends and evenings. Or enhance your personal and professional development through conferences, management seminars, and specialized programs.
Our goal is to provide quality programs and extend UND resources to you.
For more information, call 777-4266 or 1-800-342-8230.
No matter what you have a taste for, Sargento recipe blends have a way to make it taste better. 4 cheese Mexican and 6 cheese Italian. From Sargento of Wisconsin.
Oh, gee, I mean, you can ask the students.
The education that you get is as good as or better than what you can get at anywhere else.
The teachers really go out of their way to help you outside of class.
It's just an incredibly rich opportunity and environment here.
Newman Outdoor Advertising, a sight for more eyes. Outdoor advertising, it's bigger than life. It gives you flexibility. Use it as a constant reminder. Use it to advertise your message or product. Outdoor advertising, it's big, it's bold. Get your message across. Outdoor advertising, it works. For more information, call Bill Kasager in Fargo or Grand Forks.
Now from the University of North Dakota, this is Studio One.
And welcome back to Studio One.
Have you done any holiday shopping or decorating yet?
Nothing yet.
Well, I hope to get my shopping done today and decorating done tomorrow. You know, it's the 1st of December, so...
Overachiever. Well, coming up in the next 30 minutes on Studio One today, we'll show you how farm toys are huge collector's items for people of all ages.
We'll also have a one-on-one interview with former presidential candidate Ross Perot and his desire to create a new third political party in the U.S.
And with the holidays fast approaching, we'll show you how to make some unique gifts for the holidays. But first, national news from CNN and regional news with Lucy Sivka. Lucy?
Thanks, Scott. President Clinton has wrapped up his historic visit to Northern Ireland and is now in Dublin. Mr. Clinton was warmly received as the first U.S. president to visit the troubled region. In Belfast Thursday, the president met with leaders pivotal to establishing a lasting peace. Clinton said proposed all-party talks offer the best hope for peace. While in Ireland, Clinton also helped dedicate a peace project at the University of Ulster. He spent time in Catholic and Protestant neighborhoods where he urged support for a 15-month-old ceasefire, which quieted the guns of a 25-year-old conflict. For the first time in days, residents of Washington State may be happy about the weather forecast. Clear skies and cooler temperatures are expected, which could slow down the rising floodwaters. Meanwhile, hundreds of residents are waiting to return to their homes, and many roads are still closed. Flood watches remain in effect on 17 rivers, which have been lined with sandbags. Mother Nature knows no boundaries, as the flooding is also affecting British Columbia, Canada. Burglar alarms go off frequently in homes and businesses, but how often are they accurate? Some police departments are having problems with the high amount of false alarms. A false alarm is when the police are called to the scene where an alarm has gone off, but the alarm was not activated by a burglar. Instead, the alarm is activated by human error.
We will answer an alarm regardless if it's false or if it's not, or even if they do call us and tell us that it's okay that I tripped the alarm. We have no idea if this particular employee would be under threat, so therefore we answer all alarms.
To reduce false alarms in homes, people must have a permit for their alarm. If the police make a trip to your home for a false alarm more than 4 times, you will be fined. A new male contraceptive may be on its way. A recent study shows sperm may be able to smell their way to the egg, using the same types of proteins the nose uses to detect odors. If the Johns Hopkins researchers confirm this study, the finding could lead to the new contraceptive methods. It could also help couples with fertility problems by improving the sperm's ability to find the egg's scent. In the near future, researchers are hoping to market the product for consumer use. Most people have a hobby. For some, it is collecting stamps or baseball cards. For others, it is collecting toys.
If someone has ever told you that you were too old for toys, they may not have known what they were talking about. Warren Solberg is just one of many people that collects toy tractors. Along with collecting the toys, he also travels to different shows to sell and to meet new people.
You're from where?
Holland, Manitoba.
Holland?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
With a little help from his wife and his son, Warren started collecting toys 15 years ago.
My son said, "Dad, why don't you collect tractors?" And I come home with 8 that day from Grand Forks, and my wife didn't know whether she should kick me out or let me in. And it's just fireballed ever since.
Warren says he and his wife travel to 15 to 22 shows per year. But what is his favorite part of going to the shows?
Meeting all kinds of people. Gotta be the best. We know them from all over. Yeah, it just couldn't be any better.
Although they cost nowhere near what a real tractor would cost, toy tractors range in price from anywhere to $2 to over $12,000 for some of the older toys.
Do toy collectors ever get a hard time for collecting toys? Gerald Helene has been collecting for 16 years and says his son used to give him a hard time.
He used to bug me and tell me, "Dad, why you spend all that money on toys?" And then I told him once, I kind of explained to him, well, that this toy, what I paid and what it's worth now. And I said, someday these will be worth, may be yours. And he leaned over and he patted me on the back and he said, "Dad, keep it up."
Whether it is collecting toys or meeting new people, these people just like to bring back memories of the good old days. Mike Mundahl, Studio One News.
The National Farm Toy Show was held in early November in Dyersville, Iowa. It gave collectors around the nation the chance to show off some of their better toys. More than 1,000 students, faculty, and community members joined together with hope for change in the political system. Ross Perot spoke at the University of North Dakota's Memorial Union to try and gain support for an independent party. One of the goals of Perot's Reform Party is to make government more accessible to the American people, making the public the owners of the party.
Get elected. That's the way we'll do it. Our priorities are to balance the budget, pay our debt, put our financial house back in order, because if we don't do that, we won't have a country. And our first priority, of course, is to restore trust and faith in our federal government. We'll do that by setting very high ethical standards for the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Coming up later on Studio One is a one-on-one interview with Ross Perot. That wraps up the news for this half hour. Scott and Stephanie.
Thanks, Lucy.
Once again, from the Regional Weather Information Center, we go to Patrick Griesgraber for today's forecast. Is there snow in the future, Patrick?
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be down here in Grand Forks, but if you're living in the northern end of the state over the next, actually the next 12 hours, there is a good possibility you could see some snow, and also in the southern portions of Manitoba. I'll tell that, actually. We looked at that first half hour. But let's take a look at the current conditions here in Grand Forks this morning. Looking at clear skies this morning, our temperature 2 degrees. The dew point is -4. Relative humidity 75%. Winds from the west at 12 miles per hour, and the pressure 29.96 inches, and rising. Wind chill is -22 this morning. Here's your forecast for the rest of today. We're looking at pretty much clear skies for the early morning hours. Then by the afternoon, look for mostly cloudy skies. The winds will start to shift out of the southeast at 5 to 15, and looking for a high of 26. For tonight, look for mostly cloudy skies, isolated evening flurries, or possibly freezing rain. Winds from the south-southwest at 5 to 15, and a low of 24 degrees. And in the extended outlook for Grand Forks, look for pretty much cloudy skies throughout the weekend, but Saturday looks like we'll have the best day for the best chance actually to see the sun, and the temperature is dropping down to about 30 degrees during the daytime hour, but that's pretty much where the average mark is, which is right about 27 degrees. So overall, again, not a bad weekend, Scott and Stephanie.
Thanks, Patrick. Looks like a good forecast coming up.
We can keep that coming for the next couple weeks, hopefully. Let's go now to a second look at today's sports with Josh Morton, and what some are considering, Josh, is to be a role model in hockey.
That's right, Scott. Well, he's not your average hockey player. It's probably a good way to describe a Grand Forks man who has been playing the sport for more than 60 years. He may not be as fast as he used to be, but he can still tell a pretty good story.
Ray Perper loves hockey. That's why at 68 years old, you can still find him honing his skills on the ice.
My sisters and my brothers, they put the first skates on me when I was 4 years old. Go across the street to play skate around. And I guess I've been carrying the stick ever since.
And thanks to his brothers and sisters, he's been shooting the puck for over 60 years. And the game on ice is what keeps him young.
I got a lot of fellas out here I like, you know. It's pretty hard to beat friends, but I like to play with a kid because they're fast, you know. That's what probably carries me along, is their speed.
Those kids are the 35 and over slow league in Grand Forks, which gives Perper an outlet to show his skills. Skills brought along by a rich family tradition in hockey. Ray's brother Fido played 15 years of pro hockey, and his other brother Kenny played in the 1956 Olympics. A lot of great memories.
We had the best ice there was out there at the old Winter Sports Building. It'd get cold in there, yeah, but there was a lot of heart in there, boy. A lot of good times. Maybe my time in NHL will come. I don't think I want to go. Too much money involved. I'd rather play back here. I play for nothing anyway. I joke with the fellas. I says, well, if I get to be 104 and I'm still playing, I can always tell people, well, I've been on it 100 years. Boy, ain't that something? Yeah, right on. Way to work, boys. You gotta work for them out here.
With Perper's enthusiasm for hockey, he may just be lacing up the skates well past the century mark.
And Perper tries to play at least 3 times a week in different leagues. He also stays busy reffing a number of games, and he says his fondest memory comes from when he and his 2 brothers were on the same line, and his brother Fido scored 4 goals in 23 seconds. Here's another look at the scores from last night. The Fighting Sioux football team has lost a valuable member. Assistant head coach and offensive coordinator Rob Bollinger is resigning to accept the athletic fundraising position with the university. Bollinger was with the Sioux 14 of the last 18 years. Scott and Stephanie?
39 minutes now after the hour. Stay with us to get creative craft ideas that you can make at home for the holidays.
Plus a look at Ross Perot's view on the current political system and how his Reform Party could make a difference. That story's next on Studio One.
Insurance. Unfortunately, it costs. Fortunately, it pays. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Bismarck.
The University Bookstore at UND is open to everyone and invites you to make it your lifelong learning resource center. At the largest university bookstore in the Dakotas, you can choose from a wide selection of educational materials, imprinted clothing, and gift items. The trade department carries general interest books, reference materials, and educational software. Special orders and direct mailing services are available at the University Bookstore by calling 1-800-671-0948.
There's always something happening where laughter overflows. People meeting people, an exciting place to go. Something's there for everyone, and you can see it all. You're free to choose a million things, so meet me at the mall. Meet me at Columbia Mall.
No matter what you have a taste for, Sargento recipe blends have a way to make it taste better. 4 cheese Mexican and 6 cheese Italian. From Sargento of Wisconsin.
And pick your insurance company? As your agent and broker, that's our exact job. We think we do it well, and have been since 1947. Voller Insurance, Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Bismarck.
You're watching Studio One, news, weather, sports, and entertainment.
Ross Perot is once again making headlines for the 1996 presidential election. This time he's trying to start a new third party called the Reform Party, but he doesn't say if he'll run for president. Perot is on the road trying to gain enough signatures to get his newly formed party on the ballot. One of his stops was in Grand Forks, where he sat down with Studio One for a one-on-one interview.
Ross Perot loves a crowd, but better yet, Ross Perot wants a crowd to listen to what he has to say. In 1992, close to 25% of the people in Minnesota and North Dakota voted for Perot. Today, with his slick one-liners and colorful stories, Perot is lobbying the younger population, college students, for help in supporting his new third party.
Why are you doing it in a university setting and you're not going to like the Downtown Business Association for business people and other residents? Why are you hitting the colleges and universities?
Going to the colleges and universities because these are the people who are going to be most adversely affected if we don't get our house back in order. And I'm very anxious that they study and learn the facts and get all the information they need so they realize the magnitude of it, because if and when they start discussing this with their parents, there will be a meltdown, because parents are devoted to their children, and no parent or grandparent is going to ever consciously do anything that would damage their children's futures, and yet that's what we're doing right now. And we have a narrow time frame in which to correct it. We need to do it. It's very complicated to correct, and it needs to be done carefully, thoughtfully, rationally, with both parties working together, not having catfights and train wrecks.
Usually people push for a little more than they actually get in the business world. They set their sights higher than they actually know they're going to get. Do you expect to get a third party, or are you hoping for something else?
No, we're doing what we say we're doing, and we will get a third party. It's not do I want a third party, the American people want a third party. And when you look at what happened in California, where there's no way to do it, everybody just laughed and sneered, and then suddenly the people of California did it in 18 days, that shook both parties in a very constructive way. That was proof that they just laughed. It couldn't happen in California. It did. And it's happening all across the country. And every state, we go through the same routine. And then it happens, and it happens very quickly. because a majority of the people are not happy with the two-party system.
Would you run for president if your party endorsed you?
This is not about me. I would not have to create a party to run for president. I proved that in 1992. This is to create an institution that gives the people a voice. And my role is to help create that institution.
What did you learn from the '92 run?
I learned that politics is not rational, and that the difference between politics and business is bizarre. In business, the customer is king. In politics, the special interests are king, whereas the voter is the customer. And he exists to give tax money.
You say money isn't the most important thing in the world, and you're trying to convey that. You talk a lot about debt. You talk a lot about better wages, about affording health care insurance. Isn't there a little irony in that?
No, I'm saying children many times think that great wealth is the answer to everything. And we're talking on two different subjects completely now. I'm saying, having known the people that they would think of as the wealthiest people in the world, a lot of them are very unhappy people. Having great children is more important than making a lot of money. Having a great wife is more important than making a lot of money. Things don't buy happiness. Margot and I are no happier than when we drove into Dallas with everything we owned in the back of a second-hand Plymouth. We were happy then, we're happy now. And the things that have made us happier now are our children, our grandchildren. Wealth doesn't bring happiness. Now, in terms of managing money, that's a different subject. We're talking with money. The second phase is, this is the people's money that we call tax money. They made it by hard work. It should be carefully spent. It should be very carefully managed. And in fact, spending is undisciplined in our country, and the highest priority is to have a balanced budget amendment and to change the law so that Congress cannot raise taxes without the approval of the taxpayers.
You give a lot of analogies in your talk today, and sometimes you make people laugh with them, sometimes you don't get a reaction from the crowd. Do you like making stories like that, telling people the stories, compare them?
Just to try to make it more tangible. Like, you know, how big is $4.9 trillion? Nobody gets it. But when you realize it exceeds the total amount of money in circulation, you do get, that's too much debt. If our debt exceeds the total amount of currency in circulation, there's something squirrely. Then they get it for the first time. Otherwise, 4.9 trillion is just too big to grasp.
What are some ideas that the politics, that the government in North Dakota can do to keep the young people here, to keep it a thriving state?
I can say this today, get some very talented people with no agenda to sit down and come up with a carefully thought out plan. Then have a giant debate and public discussion about it and build a consensus about what to do, and then do it. But keep it dynamic. Nobody's creative plan is ever very good when you first implement it. And the best analogy I can give you is, they've been building cars in this country forever, but every time they build a new car, even though they go through every step you should, they've tested the doorknobs, they've tested the cigarette lighter, they've tested every little piece of it, they put it all together, and the first day on the test track is really ugly. So what do? You debug it, and you optimize it, then you keep it, in anything you come up with for North Dakota, even though you have a great plan to start with, don't freeze it by law or anything, keep it dynamic, because things change every day.
Up next on Studio One, Stephanie talks with Tess Weekesmurphy and Millie Finger. They'll show us some great holiday gift ideas, so grab a pen and paper to copy all of them down.
If there's something you want to know about Studio One, write us, call us, or fax us. Our address is Box 7307, Grand Forks, North Dakota, 58202. If you want to call us, dial 701-777-4346, or fax your message to us at 701-777-4342.
Gee, Vince, what kind of dummy wouldn't know how to use a child safety seat?
Beats me, lads. Child's play.
You just buckle him in.
Unless he's over 20 pounds.
Then this one's good.
Except if he's over 40 pounds.
Then you're into this kind of ring.
What if he outgrows that?
Put him in a booster seat?
What if he's too big for the booster seat?
Would he use the safety belt?
The Auto Safety Hotline can tell you everything you need to know about keeping your child safe in a car.
I'm a wreck.
Totaled.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Call 1-800-424-9393.
I was looking for a car for 3 months, and the folks at Honda Nissan knew I did TV commercials. And so they asked me for suggestions, and all I could tell them was how great I was treated at Honda Nissan. And the next thing you know, here I am. When I went to Honda Nissan, I was treated with such respect. And I really couldn't believe the quality and selection that I found there. People always tell me that you get what you pay for. But at Honda Nissan, you really do get what you pay for.
When you put together quality faculty with quality programs, with superb students and all kinds of neat opportunities, you're going to get literally a world-class education. And that's what we can provide at the University of North Dakota.
Coming here, you do meet a lot of people from different cultures, and it's really broadened my horizons a lot, kept me more open-minded.
I really like the professors here. They're always available. You can go in and talk to them whenever you need them.
It really has everything to offer. You don't need to go far away to get a really good education anymore.
Holiday crafts are becoming one of the most popular gifts to give this season. So if you have a little extra time on your hands and you're patient, we have some ideas for you. Millie and Tess from the Quilted Rabbit will show us some popular crafts and how to make a beautiful holiday wreath. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi.
How did you get involved in the craft business?
I started sewing with scraps from my mother when I was 5, and I've kind of gotten into it ever since then. I started doing shows about 10, 12 years ago, and then we opened the store about 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Millie? How did you get involved with it?
Oh, I started basically sewing for kids, and then I slowly moved into the crafts.
Great. Well, today you're going to show us how to make a holiday wreath. So let's get started. What are the first steps?
Well, I've got this one. This one is totally completed.
Okay.
And it's ready to be hung. There's a little hanger on the back here.
Okay.
And this one I partially completed. And first you start with like a 24-inch wreath. I'll have Millie read off the supply list.
The supplies, you need a 24-inch evergreen wreath, 20-gauge wire, floral wire, a glue gun, and of course glue sticks, 3 large floral picks, 3 yards of ribbon, 5 pine cones, and a wire cutter.
Okay.
Okay, first you take 11-inch strips of ribbon, and you take 28-gauge floral wire, and you wrap around to make a ribbon pick. And the floral picks are already assembled and stuff. You buy them individually, and you need to cut off the stem of it. This is really easy because you just kind of put them in there, hit and miss. When you get these wreaths, they come absolutely flat. And then you kind of fluff them up, and you stick the flowers in. They don't have to be perfect because nature doesn't make them perfect.
Can you put other types of flowers in to customize them for a home? Or do you usually recommend using the poinsettias?
Oh no, they look gorgeous with red roses or mauve-colored roses. You can get poinsettias in any color now, in blues and whites and mauves.
Where can we get the products to make this?
You can get any of these things at your local craft store.
And you're just using a hot glue gun and placing a little bit on there?
And same way with the ribbon picks.
How long does it take for the glue to dry?
As long as you don't get it on your fingers so that they burn. It takes about 30 seconds. If you burn your fingers, a lot of times if you're not experienced with a hot glue gun, or even if you are, a bowl of cold water with ice in it's good to have a hand.
Can you winterize these so they can be outside?
Sure. If you any spray can of clear acrylic, you can spray it over lightly, almost like you were putting hairspray on, and then wait for about 30 minutes for it to dry, and then do that 2 or 3 more times over the ribbon, the flowers, and the whole wreath, and you can winterize it so that it can be outside.
Now, I understand you can put these anywhere in your house and outside of your house, and I've also heard that people put them on their automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
How do you attach them to the cars?
You'd wire it to your grill.
Right.
Okay. What other products do you make or do you sell at the Quilted Rabbit?
We sell a variety of shelving. We also do the Santas here, and there's rabbits and dolls and anything for decorating your home. There's Deacon benches, all your shelving, shadow boxes. We also sell fresh scents and potpourri. Anything, just come in and we'll help you decorate for the holidays.
How long does it take to make the Santas?
Well, this Santa is Tessa's own design, and he's really kind of neat. He's got his little green tennis shoes on, and what did it take you?
He takes about 6 hours per Santa.
And then this one I've done, and he took me, probably about 3 hours to make. But his base of wood, and then you cut out the fabric, and it was quite quick and easy.
Well, they look beautiful, and these wreaths are also beautiful. Here are the finished products, and we thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
56 minutes now after the hour. Studio One will continue after this.
From the University of North Dakota, you're watching Studio One.
UND's Division of Continuing Education can help you learn throughout your lifetime. Begin or continue your education through correspondence study and learning after hours with classes on weekends and evenings. Or enhance your personal and professional development through conferences, management seminars, and specialized programs.
Our goal is to provide quality programs and extend UND resources to you.
For more information, call 777-4266 or 1-800-342-8230.
Good afternoon, officer. My license and registration. Cheeseburger? It's hot out today, huh, officer? Maybe my tail light's out.
Shouldn't you be carpooling?
I guess you're right.
I guess I am.
Carpooling can save up to 600,000 gallons of gas a year. This message sponsored by Ad Council and Earthshare.
Newman Outdoor Advertising, a sight for more eyes. Outdoor advertising, it's bigger than life. It gives you flexibility. Use it as a constant reminder. Use it to advertise your message or product. Outdoor advertising, it's big, it's bold. Get your message across. Outdoor advertising, it works. For more information, call Bill Casager in Fargo or Grand Forks.
And now a follow-up story on something we did on Studio One recently about an up-and-coming Fargo band called Kid Johnny Lang. In January, he's signing a guaranteed full-record deal with A&M Records. Now, although they haven't picked anyone to produce the album yet, they're leaning towards David Rifkin of Prince, the Bodines, and Big Head Todd and the Monsters fame. The first record is due out in 1996, and also in the works is a possible tour next fall with Dire Straits.
Their first date was a parts run followed by supper. A farmer in Page, North Dakota needed some extra hired hands to help harvest his crops. Matt Mechtel ran a want ad in a newspaper in July of '94 in search of 2 combine drivers. Denise Kraft answered the request and was interviewed for the job. Matt says Denise knew her stuff and she's a better combine operator than most men. Matt says it was love at first sight. He proposed to Denise only 4 months after she was hired. They recently became newlyweds and plan to spend part of their honeymoon at a Farm Bureau meeting in Reno, Nevada.
And that's it for today on Studio One with our Little Santa's Helper. We say goodbye until next week.